Hola! Happy Tuesday. We're live and alive. Hope we got a good one coming for everybody today. See if Instagram's a little less jumpy today. Perhaps we're good. Perhaps no problems. Perhaps we will find out shortly. Getting there. There we go. All right, IG. Let's do it. Okay, good afternoon, friends, colleagues, and health enthusiasts around the globe. I'm Dr. Joaquin Acosta, your guide in the enthralling world of healthcare and wellness. Welcome to tonight's special edition of Know Your Pharmacist, where we delve into the fascinating intricacies of medicine, technology, and human wellness. Tonight we stand at the intersection of innovation and empathy, exploring not just science behind the health, but the stories that make it deeply human. As CEO of PharmTrue and your host, I'm thrilled to bring you cutting-edge insights coupled with a heartfelt connection that transcends digital boundaries. Our journey begins with the Pharmacist Frontline, where we'll uncover the hidden challenges and triumphs of first-generation pharmacy students. Their resilience and determination are a testament to the power of persistence and the beauty of breaking barriers. Next in Tech Talk, prepare to be amazed as we dive into Amazon Pharmacy's revolutionary artificial intelligence-powered delivery system. This is where technology meets human care, ensuring your health needs are met swiftly and smartly, now rolling out into the big markets, LA and NYC. So, after join me in the Enlightenment Hour as we unravel Tony Robbins' 6 core human needs. Understanding these needs isn't just enlightening, it's empowering, offering a roadmap to personal growth and fulfillment. In our Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored by High Horse Cannabis Company, we explore the nuanced role of cannabis in seizure treatment. This is where compassion meets science, opening new doors to healing and understanding. In our community spotlight, let's celebrate the spirit of togetherness. The Bravo Mike Communications Spring Fest this Saturday, a beacon of joy and community connection. Finally, in our Men's Health Minute, sponsored by Vado Speedway Park, focusing on the impact of holiday breaks, specifically Easter weekend, on exercise routines. Blending data with practical advice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Huge shout out to amazing show sponsors without whom this journey wouldn't be possible. PharmTrue, High Horse Cannabis Company, The Baked Chicken Farm, and Vado Speedway Park. As we embark on this enlightening odyssey tonight, I invite you to engage, question, and grow with us. Your health is not just a matter of science, it's a story of human spirit, resilience, and endless possibilities. Let's explore, learn, and transform together. The journey to wellness starts now. All right. So I want to share with you guys, this post actually came up on LinkedIn, and it was a little bit of a presentation, actually, from a fellow first-generation pharmacist, and I think this is pretty cool as a first-generation pharmacist myself. But listen to this. This is from Dr. Urellis. It says, "Don't be afraid of turning your struggles into a success story." Quote started by Gary Moyes. "Yesterday, I presented to pharmacy students at the University of Arizona about my pharmacist path as a first-generation student. This was the first time I presented as a finally licensed pharmacist, and the first time imposter syndrome did not take over me, because I know for sure that I can speak from experience about this topic. I decided to do some research about first-generation students in the United States and found some thought-provoking statistics. Why do only 23% of first-generation students pursue graduate studies? Why do first-generation students in pharmacy school have a higher rate of missing class due to their mood, levels of stress, and mental health? Did you know that first-generation students are more likely to leave a four-year education institution before the second year, according to the United States Department of Education in 2018? Well, Dr. Urellis is proud to be a first-generation student and considers herself incredibly fortunate to have a wonderful and present support system at home. However, this is not the case for every first-generation students. First-generation students often deal with more pressure than non-first-generation students. Pressure to succeed, an example for younger siblings, to meet expectations, and to break barriers in their family. We're often tied to the biggest and what seems like the most important decision of our lives: pursue a degree, something that has not been done before in our lineage. Suddenly and unintentionally, our entire life and mindset is influenced by how well we are able to meet the expectation of finishing what we started. As healthcare professionals aiming to set an example for future generations, I think it's important to recognize these challenges and show empathy towards first-generation students. You know, provoking, hey, what are simple thoughts and from first-generation student colleagues and non-first-generation student colleagues who have been touched by a first-generation student's experience, at some point of their life, right? And I think it's pretty interesting, right? Another first-generation student commented there, I'm also a first-generation student. Even something as simple as applying for FAFSA when none of your parents have gone to college is just an example of the barriers that first-generation students face. I think these statistics make sense because first-generation students just have really no guidance from home. Your family can be supportive, but they don't have the knowledge to help. Having meetings, introduction classes for students over FAFSA applications, for instance, and how to apply to graduate programs or where to look for, actual academic programs that you want to do, could, in this comments, say, help people feel more confident in the undergraduate and graduate school processes. And another thing there, somebody else said from another first-generation standpoint, I think support and resources should start at the K-12 level. Being a member of my school district's equity community, I see how disparities are pervasive and start at early stages of education. Engaging the community and families in resources and education needs to start, before kindergarten. So, very interesting takes there coming from, first-generation students. And as a first-generation student myself, actually, I was fortunate. My parents both went to college. My dad, came over from Mexico when he was pretty young, I think like 5 years old, right? And, I was reflecting on this, and I thought this was an interesting topic today as I participated in the Las Cruces Public Schools. There was a basically mock interview day, and so we were with basically sophomores, juniors that were doing, mock interviews, and we were talking to a lot of people about, going through the interview process and to get the message of, hey, where are you going and why, right? And I didn't necessarily deal with a first-generation student today, for instance. I did actually end up talking to somebody who had actually migrated, which was a pretty inspiring story, from Juarez, ends up going to Las Cruces High School, president of the Enlace program, all kinds of decorated things, and also an entrepreneur on the side, running her own flower business where, she had picked up a lot of the craft from Mexico. Her mom does it, and, is looking to pursue that career and wanted to go to college to learn how to sharpen those edges, when it comes to business. And, that kind of stuff is very inspiring to me as somebody who found entrepreneurship, before I went to college, and then kind of lost it there and then awokened it towards the end. And I think, very important because, there's a lot of thought and a lot of, for instance, uncertainty and a lot of other things that you go for when you're going into, the school processes. And, a lot of people say college is about finding yourself, and right, that's, all fine and dandy, but as the time that you're spending to go do that, perhaps if you don't have a support system or you aren't resilient or you just make a couple bad choices, you could end up doing, a whole heck of a lot of damage to not only your, financial status coming out of school, but you can really beat yourself up in many ways. And again, that's, maybe the worst end of the spectrum, but at the same time, something people need to be concerned about because, racking up a credit card tab, making poor decisions, getting all kinds of student loans, all for what if you're not going to finish, right? Or if, perhaps you didn't have some sort of the amount of support that you needed to get through. And of course, it's all about you finishing it out. But, I think it's very important to be able to tap into, your own why and things like that. Something that I don't think, for instance, this is not, awaken anybody in high school, and maybe it may be much of a juvenile concept at that point to really start introducing. But, the matter of independence in a lot of these students really does, ring those bells. And I think it's very important to, take that extra look, as far as how do you, tap into what makes you want to do what you want to do, right? And for me, being a first generation, pharmacist and, kid, basically in my family, I actually have two older cousins than me that are also pharmacists. And then I think my oldest cousin and my dad's side, she's also a psychologist doctor there. And so, everybody in the family was definitely, pursuing higher education. Education was a big value, especially on that side of the family. My mom's side of the family too, but again, she was not from she was a American already. So just interestingly enough, there to you see from those family dynamics and probably seeing kind of how it all shakes out, right? And after it's all said and done, I do look at my abuelito, my grandpa, the guy that actually crossed over, that did all the hard work for the family to be able to level themselves up, to where we are today, to have an opportunity to go to school and be well taken care of, because he worked his absolute tail off, as well as my grandma, for their lives, and they understood what they needed to understand to find their own success. And that definition of success was absolutely defined by what he laid out for us, right? And for me, his story is something I always tapped into, and resonating that, I wanted to be, brave and strong like my grandpa, to do things that, were continuing to push forward, right? And things like that. And of course, my grandmother's, big points of reference in my life as well, love and nurture and care. And then, my grandpa was, all the things otherwise, like brave, strong, mighty and willed, right? Traveling to America on a fifth grade education in Mexico, coming out of the farm, endured a heck of a lot. I think there was, part of his stories of getting lost out there on the farm in the rain and all kinds of crazy stuff. Came out, did the potato farms up in Idaho, all the way down to the pecan farms down here. Ended up being gifted, I think, in part of his retirement, 14, 15 acres of pecan farms, pecan land, and built this, house on that after, everybody basically almost turned 18 in his family. However, it was a testament to his hard work to get to that point and to instill that, down those generational pathways. And I think, all of us, to get those degrees, in my side of the family, have that in us, and all of us have different versions of that in us. And for whatever reason, I've always kind of tapped into that kind of, let's continue his mission kind of thing, right? And so for a first generation student, the pressures to some degree are also a little different, right? And whether self-imposed or not self-imposed, I think part of that being my story, right, was always there. And it was the story I put on my graduation applications and scholarships and whatever else it was going to be. But that was really what I tapped into, because it was honestly all I knew. And interestingly enough, it's fun to kind of reflect on that back, on a day like this, where we're doing mock interviews, talking to all kinds of high school students, and just really, finding different people's why, right? And of course, everybody's kind of got a relatively level playing field in America. That's the beauty of the country, right? We can all go to public school, we can all get an education and find different ways to succeed if you believe in yourself and work hard. And these, seem pretty cliche to some degree, but it is the beauty of this country, right? And that's, why we are here. That's why I'm here, right? Because there was a future that was forming here that wasn't, south of the border. So I think it's really awesome. And, just tapping into what the, perhaps mindset of a future of a first generation student, whatever they may be, perhaps would be traditionally a little different. Doesn't mean inherently any better or any worse, but to look at a point of certainty and pride and some of the statistics that happen there, it's definitely, the course and the numbers definitely don't necessarily support always the amount of success stories there when you're looking at some of those thought-provoking statistics, right, that Dr. Urellis brought up. Why do only 23% of first-generation students pursue graduate studies? Why do first-generation students in pharmacy school have a higher rate of missing class due to their mood levels of stress and mental health, right? You know that the first-generation students are more likely to leave a four-year education institution before the second year. So, completely understandable concepts. And then in our little area where, right, we are just right in the borderlands, and we do have a lot of students with these pretty unique opportunities and situations that may be traditionally a lot different than a little bit north of the border, of course, right? So I just think it's pretty cool stuff, and it's worth provoking some thought on that. Not saying one way or another, but it's absolutely cool, and it doesn't all come from Mexico, right? You see students from India, China, anything like that. I had classmates just like that in pharmacy school, and that was part of maybe a cool part of UNM was a diverse institution of people there that definitely at least created that, ideally competitive atmosphere as well, because you see other, first generation students with whatever kinds of language barriers or things going on in their lives, and they're, continuing to show up to class every day and all that. So it creates a good wheelhouse of people there that are ideally coming back to come back, support our communities, and do those good things. So hopefully my good deed for the day hope to inspire at least the 10 kids I got to talk to for the amount of time that I did, and I hope to see some bright futures from that, and very cool stuff. Anyways, we'll move on. Let's talk about Amazon Pharmacy. So Amazon Pharmacy now offering same-day delivery in New York City and LA area. Here's how AI is helping. I'm going to jump in, pop on this little video for us. Sometimes the video just does a better representative than what one can relay. So here we go. I'm going to turn off the stream to YouTube.